We live in a world that often rewards numbness, but feeling deeply isn't weakness, it's power. Sensitivity is how we sense what others miss, the language beneath words, the emotion behind silence, the light hiding in ordinary moments. When you learn to hold that awareness instead of running from it, it becomes guidance, leadership. But feeling deeply also means you need to know how to process it, not by suppressing or escaping, but by transmuting, breathing through the tightness, listening to what the emotion wants to become, and letting it express through movement, writing, sound, or stillness. That's how pain turns into power, and emotion becomes creation. So, if you've ever been told you are too sensitive, you feel too much, you think too much, remember, you're exactly what this world needs. Ground it, channel it, and let your sensitivity lead the way. So, the reason that I found relevant to share this is because I've been noticing how I interact with the world quite a lot recently. I do this quite often. For me, the world is, an experiment, my own lab where I can just see how things work and, observe, analyze, feel, understand. But recently, I've been focusing a lot on this theme of sensitivity and how it can go to many different directions if not channeled properly. Because my whole life I felt like I was an overthinker and I was just, you know, thinking too much and feeling too deeply. I would not be okay if I saw injustice or pain or sadness. And I would kind of like absorb these energies as if they were my own. And recently, I've been kind of feeling the need to find a healthier way of, having more sovereignty over my own energy, over my own fields, my emotions, my moods, my opinions, my thoughts. And this is a process I've been going through for quite some time now. But especially talking about sensitivity and how we are often told that, you know, it's a weakness, but I do believe that is a gift. And the reason why a lot of people say it's weakness, it's because there are a lot of big companies, institutions, a lot of parts of society that only function because they rely on other people being weak. Otherwise, they wouldn't have power over anyone. So, this is kind of like my attempt to not only regain my own power and my own gifts, my own intuition, my own essence and nature, but also inspire others to do the same because that's something that literally anyone can do and anyone should be doing. Because once you regain power over your own inner world, and I'm talking about thoughts, feelings, emotions, moods, opinions, beliefs, all of that, and you know how to separate what is yours from what's from others, you gain a lot of sovereignty over what is yours, and that gives you a lot of influence and puts you in a position of choice, of agency, of free will, where rather than being pulled from direction to direction and letting yourself be controlled by others or by systems or anything that is outside of your control, you understand that regardless of what's happening around you, if you have this focus on your inner worlds, on your breath, on your stillness, on your inner peace, you've got everything that you need. It doesn't matter what's going on around you because then you are connected to yourself. You're connected to your essence. You're connected to nature, to the winds, to the earth's elements, to the universe. You're connected to something so much greater than yourself that you have all the strength that you need. And you start seeing that sensitivity is your biggest strength because that means you look around, you look at the world, you see everything that's going on wrong, You see all the injustice, you see all the pain, you see all the suffering, and you're actually able to do something about it. Because a lot of sensitive people, and I'm generalizing in this case, because I think it's relevant for this specific case, a lot of sensitive people tend to repress their pain, repress their repress the side of them because they don't know what to do with it, because they feel so deeply. They look around and they ask themselves like why, and they don't know how to answer and don't know what to do. And I've been noticing that there are quite a few techniques that seem simple, and they are, but they help so much. For example, something that has been helping me a lot, especially in social situations where before I used to absorb everyone's energies, and if I was around someone that was, I don't know, stressed or who had traumas inside and was projecting them onto me, or if someone was talking about me or complaining or whatever that might be, I would sense it in a level that it would make me dizzy. It would make me want to leave the place. It would make me want to cry. And although this is one way of doing it, I feel like there are healthier ways. And for me, what helps a lot is just getting taking control of my breath. Because sometimes when you are in these environments and you feel so drained, you feel like the energies around you are just not good, and there's sometimes nothing you can do about it because you were there because I don't know, you're working, or it's I don't know, a friend's partner, or whatever it might be for you. Sometimes you kind of have to be in that situation until you decide to leave, because that would be the next step, right? But taking control of your breath shows to yourself that you're fine. It doesn't matter what others are doing. It doesn't matter if anyone is projecting anything onto you. It doesn't matter if somehow your fields is absorbing their energies. Because if you take a deep breath, many deep breaths as you need, and you kind of like can control it in a steady and composed way, that means you have your power back. Because then you have your focus back. You're focusing within, even though the world wants you to focus without, without. Is that right? I don't know. But anyways, you got the message. Um, so yeah, taking a deep breath. I know it sounds so simple, and it is. And I used to read all of these posts and books and podcasts that were saying, you just take a deep breath and, you know, you will get a little bit better. I was like, what? Just taking a deep breath? Of course, I'm breathing all the time. Like, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to do anything. It actually does. It actually helps. But as I've written in my Substack post, that's just the first step. And sometimes you need something as simple as taking a deep breath, because there's nothing else that you can do in the moment. But there are so many things that come after it. It's like a cascade, an upwards cascade, where you take a deep breath, then you regain control of your focus, you regain control of your choice. So then you decide what to do with the situation. You have more you regain your sense of judgment in a more logical way, because when you are too open to other people's energies, you kind of going more the intuitive side, which is amazing, and you should listen to your intuition all the time. But if that is not followed by logic, it can get scattered, and sometimes nothing is done about it, because with intuition, you feel things, you notice things, you see things, but sometimes they cannot be put into words because they don't even make sense. And if you try to explain certain aspects of the way you perceive reality to other people, maybe it wouldn't make sense to them, for them. But what matters is that it makes sense to you. You're the only one who needs to be sure of your truth. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. But one way of adding another layer to intuition is combining that with logic. Because if you're able to regain control of your breath, being in the moment, understands that you have this a little bit of calm, at least inside, a little bit. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to be in bliss. Just taking a deep breath, focusing there, you can then act. Okay, so maybe you want to make a choice. You want to speak up. For you to speak up, you need to be calm and composed. Otherwise, no one will listen to you, especially when people see that you are a sensitive person because they think they're stronger than you somehow. And if you go in the narrative of letting your energy leak in that way, what's going to happen is that they will have power over you if you don't regain your power back. So then, continuing this cascade, you can speak up or you can leave the situation. Something needs to come out from a situation where you feel drained or where you have strong emotions or when you see and you sense things very deeply. Something needs to come out from that. It doesn't matter if it's some sort of outwards expression of like creating something or arts, painting, music, singing, dancing, petting your cat, shouting, but don't shout at anyone, like shouting maybe like to the air, I don't know, like making something with your hands like crafts, DIY, maybe a project you've been procrastinating for long. Um, you can also do some sort of content, creating a video, creating a written piece, you can journal. This is like the magic of alchemy, how you can alchemize emotions because everything negative that is inside of you somehow, and I'm talking about like situations, people's opinions, other people's energies, your own energy, like things that happen to you, things that happen at you, like regardless, if they are somehow within your inner worlds or with your fields, you can actually do something about that. They are there ready to be transformed into something more positive. And how you do that is by creating anything you feel called to create. It can be small, it can be like in a larger scale, it can be a movement, it can be a podcast, it can be a conversation, it can be an event, an innovation, a product, whatever. Just let your mind and your intuition guide you in a way that is beneficial for society, is beneficial for humanity, for others, for your family, for yourself always, but you and other people included in the whole process, because this is what we're here to do. We're here to transform negatives into positives in all sorts of ways, and by creating, that's what you're doing. That's how you transmute negative emotions.